My nephew Pete hooking it up. Love that prestige worldwide. That's what we're doing. And a lot to talk about. Drew, you're in Spartanburg, South Carolina right now, and you're there to see the Carolina Shrine Bowl. So a couple takeaways. We're going to talk about a couple guys that really kind of highlighted your article yesterday in the first day of practice. Let's start with Tennessee receiver commit and top 247 receiver, Braylon Staley. What'd you like about him?
Oh, Coop, we continue to hammer this down. With the 2024 cycle, it is loaded at pass catchers, more specifically so with the wide receivers. I mean, coast to coast. So I show up here in Spartanburg, the hub city, and I thought the best guy day one was Braylon Staley, who really hasn't been discussed on a national level. This guy had a monster senior season, 69 catches, 1,100 yards, 14 touchdowns. State champ in the triple jump, state champ in the 200. He caught more passes than anyone on Monday during the South Carolina practices. I mean, he was giving DBs fits, and he can track the football deep. Shane Beamer and the Gamecocks actually kind of made a late run at Staley, but it sounds like he is sticking with Tennessee. He told me he's going to go through Cheez-It Bowl practices here next week before he participates in the Under Armour All-America game. And Coop, my biggest takeaway with Braylon Staley is he is the perfect fit for Josh Heupel's offense. Kind of a clone of Squirrel White. He can create explosive plays. You can throw a swing pass to him. He can go get it deep over the middle, run a go route. He can do a little bit of everything, and I'm fired up to see him in Knoxville because I think, again, he can be a high-volume target in an up-tempo offense. So he was awesome, and a guy that really has flown a little bit under the radar. It sounds weird to say that about a top 247 wide receiver, but when there's so many of these dudes, you kind of forget about some of them. So Braylon Staley reintroducing himself, and I'm sure he's going to have a big game on Saturday, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's a top performer there in Orlando at the Under Armour All-America game in a few weeks.
Second straight cycle, the Vols have gone to Carolina. Nathan Leacock, Drew, is another guy that kind of rose up late for us in the top 247 last year. That's a big win for them to go to South Carolina, dig out a guy like Braylon Staley. Drew, another guy, a big body out of the Carolinas, and it seems like the Georgia Bulldogs, they just continue to mine for these type of dudes. How about Nnamdi Ogboko, a big mass mover is what you would call a guy like that. What'd you like from him yesterday?
We talked so much about what Georgia has done on the offensive line this cycle, and for good reason. I mean, the group's all over 6'5", averages about 345 pounds when they step on the scales. But Nnamdi is a massive, wide individual on the defensive side of the ball, and I think he's the perfect fit for what Will Muschamp, Kirby Smart want to do on defense. Glenn Schumann as well. I mean, this guy can eat up space. He was a bit of an issue for North Carolina on Monday. They couldn't practice when he was on. Interesting, unique background. He actually plays some basketball. He's got a brother in the 2026 class as well that I know Georgia is high on. But my takeaway here, Georgia, they are hoarding mass not only on offense, but they're doing it on defense as well. I think this guy, you might not see him year one, year two, but he has a chance to be a key piece in the middle for the Bulldogs. Play that shade, zero tech, one tech. He is, Cooper, like the widest individual in this class. He's got tree trunks for legs down there. And, I thought it was a really notable performance from him and someone Georgia fans to be fired up about. Everyone wants to talk about the top-ranked guys in that number one ranked recruiting class, but there are some dudes, if you dig down, scroll down that list and look at the bottom of it for UGA.
A lot of puppies on that defensive line, too. I mean, you think about Jordan Hall, got to play a little bit this past season in Athens. Guys like Jamal Jarrett as well. I'm sure we'll see over the next couple of years. You throw in a guy like Ogboko as well. Georgia not going anywhere on that defensive front. Let's stick with the point of attack on the other side of the football. We talked about South Carolina a little bit earlier, but this one, a little bit more positive news. Josiah Thompson, a guy that we have ranked inside the top 50 in the top 247 this cycle. Drew, you texted me and said he kind of reminds me of David Sanders. If you don't know who David Sanders is, that's one of the best players in the country in 2025, the number one ranked offensive tackle. Drew, it's not a tackle-heavy year. Only two of those guys inside the top 32. This is one of those guys that I think we're going to want to keep an eye on over the next couple of weeks.
Absolutely, Cooper. I mean, he's listed at 280 pounds. I think that is a little generous. I would probably say he's closer to 250 than he is 300. He is lean, but he's got that prototypical frame, very light on his feet, can move in the pass sets. We didn't get any one-on-ones out here, and I was at practice Tuesday morning as well. They're just not doing one-on-ones, but from what I saw, inside run, 11 on 11. I mean, Josiah Thompson, he was the best looking of the bunch, and that's not surprising. He is the highest ranked prospect here in Spartanburg. And Cooper, what I think is really notable is the fact that South Carolina is going to get Josiah Thompson, because we know they need to improve that offensive line, and it looks like they're trying to do it through the high school ranks. Here in 2023, they played 2 true freshmen up front, Tree Babalade, Trovon Baugh, and now they got Josiah Thompson coming, who I think can be a left tackle in the SEC. Now, he's going to need probably a year or two to add some mass, notably in that lower half. But I think if you are a South Carolina fan, you got to be fired up about what that offensive line could be at some point down the line, just given the developmental upside. Shane Beamer is elevating the floor and the ceiling of that O-line room. And they also got Cam Pringle here, who has looked good for the South Carolina squad as a right and left tackle. So big takeaway, South Carolina, they got some young, promising talent on the offensive line. Josiah Thompson is one of them, and I'm fired up to see him at the Under Armour All-America game, because I think there's going to be, some more premium pass rushers, and we should get one-on-ones there. But yes, I agree, a guy to keep an eye on, especially as we try to finalize these 2024 rankings.
Tough season for the Gamecocks on the field. Drew, if there is a positive from the 2023 season, is a lot of those young guys played. You mentioned Tree Babalade along with Trovon Baugh as well. Now you add in a guy like Josiah Thompson. The future looking bright there in South Carolina. They got to get it right on the field. How about this? Hosting A.J. Swan, the former Vandy quarterback, will be on a visit coming up here soon for the Gamecocks as they look to backfill Spencer Rattler as he's off to the NFL. All right, Drew, we have talked more about NC State and their receiving corps than I ever expected when we started this podcast. But how about Kevin Concepcion, a darling not only of PFF and everybody out there voting for freshman All-American teams, but of the Oyster Boys as well, a guy that we really kind of pointed to in the preseason as a guy to look out for. That all came to fruition in 2023, the ACC Offensive Freshman of the Year. And Drew, they might not be done. You like a couple of the guys that you've seen out there this week as well.
Yeah, we might need to have Joker Phillips as our wide receivers coach on this imaginary Oyster Boys staff, because he is reloading there at the position. You got 3 wide receivers, and I put those in quotation marks out here. Jonathan Paylor, he's playing wide receiver this week for the North Carolina squad after running for 2,000 yards as a senior. I think he's more of a running back than he is a wideout, but you can use him in the slot. He kind of reminds me of Naheem Hines, who the Wolfpack had a few years ago. He's a stud. I think he's the best player on North Carolina's roster. Chunk play machine. I think he's going to be able to do just that, and I'm a fan of him. But I also like Jamar Boston, Christian Zachary, 2 more guys that are representing the state of North Carolina this week at the Shrine Bowl. And to me, Cooper, you take those 3, you pair them with Terrell Anderson. We've talked about on this show and podcast before. We're big fans of Terrell Anderson, huge riser in the 24/7 sports rankings. NC State fighting to hold on to him as Georgia looks for a flip. I think the name of the game here for Joker Phillips is he is getting a bunch of diverse bodies and different skill sets to reload at the wide receiver position. So that's 4 guys, and you pair them with Kevin Concepcion. Stock up, arrow up for the future of NC State's wide receiver room. And then toss in the fact, hey, Cedric Bailey, who just won a state title down in Florida, he could be the guy throwing the football to these individuals. So I am buying stock in the future of NC State's offense. I think it could be fun. I think it could be explosive. And I think they have a chance to throw it around the yard because they got guys of all different sizes that can do a little bit of everything. So, again, buying stock in NC State and Joker Phillips.